Liberal Fox News host Jessica Tarlov laid the proverbial smackdown on her four MAGA co hosts in a heated debate about Donald Trump with a series of brutal fact checks that included a Fox News poll, which is devastating for Trump. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play from the most recent episode of The Five. As you know, I firmly believe that Jessica Tarlov has the hardest job in legacy media. Always outnumbered, never outgunned. She has to deal with constant heckling and bad faith attacks from her MAGA co-hosts, but she's smarter than they are. She's better versed on the facts, and when she corners them, they struggle immensely. So this is very, very satisfying that somebody on Fox is actually delivering the facts to a reluctant audience despite the odds. So we're going to start with this clip here.
And I'm also committed to the truth, Jesse. And the truth is that the Democrats are very unpopular, but so is a lot of what Donald Trump is doing. So in polling, Marquette, Fox News, all the goodies, he's down 16 on the economy, down 14 on foreign policy, 26 on handling tariffs, and 32 on cost of living. And this reconciliation bill that they're trying to pass through the Senate right now has opposition from more senators than they can handle. So you've got the Josh Hawleys of the world, who's miraculously concerned about throwing people off Medicaid. Rick Scott and Maria Bartiromo was raking him over the coals this morning about his views. Rand Paul, who has been talking about everything from how unconstitutional it is for Trump to be putting in these tariffs to how we're ballooning the deficit. Ron Johnson, Susan Collins, Jerry Moran. Those are a lot of senators that you've got to get on board. So if this is the big ticket item, right, this is the big marquee agenda piece that we're going to give tax cuts to the wealthy and we're going to take away food assistance and Medicaid. So we're hurting the poor to help the rich. That does not bode well for 2026. For the Republicans or for 2028, when we're going to have a big, beautiful primary and we will get a great candidate and everyone will forget about the hoity-toity and we shall be victorious.
It's funny, Jessica thinks she...
So I love it. I love that she cited Fox News as well because they're one of the most reputable pollsters in the country, believe it or not. And listen, I also like the fact that she owns where the Democrats are. I mean, I've been very candid about it as well. The Democratic Party is in a really bad situation. We are wildly unpopular. Republicans hate Democrats. Independents hate Democrats. Democrats hate Democrats. We have got to get our shit together. The one godsend for us at the moment, which is also simultaneously the biggest problem, is Republicans have total control of government. Democrats have no real power, very little leverage, and certainly no real power. But that also means that we have more time to get our shit together because we don't actually have to govern the way that Republicans do because they're the ones who have their grips on the levers of power. We are in a position to do at least some of what Republicans did during the 4 years under the Biden administration, which is, heckle and point fingers and, attack, go on offense, while the party in power is the one who gets the blame for shit going sideways, especially when, in the case of Trump's tariffs, this is a self-inflicted wound. Trump did do it. He is responsible for what's going on. So I love the fact that she points out, like, listen, you want to talk smack about the Democrats, there's plenty. And unlike you, Jesse, because you're in a cult and you think that Donald Trump is God Emperor and is infallible, I can admit when my party has issues, but your cult leader has issues too, according to this very network and other reputable pollsters. Love to see it. Here's another clip.
When we're going to have a big, beautiful primary and we will get a great candidate and everyone will forget about the hoity-toity and we shall be victorious.
It's funny, Jessica thinks she can sell that agenda, Greg, that Trump's this guy that hates the poor and he's just out for Wall Street.
He's
the
just out
exact
for
opposite.
himself.
It's the exact opposite.
No, the funny thing is the reason
when we're going to have
that's reflected in the polls. That it's just reflected that Donald Trump tends to not do well with, polls about empathy. Does Trump understand people like me? Does Trump concerned about the plights of people like me? Donald Trump is perceived as a corrupt New York billionaire. The problem for Democrats is that occasionally it's seen as, well, in his corrupt, privileged pursuits, he will occasionally do things that incidentally are beneficial for the rest of the American people, which is why so many people are willing to tolerate Trump's stupidity, corruption, and authoritarianism. But this idea that Trump is seen widely, as a champion of the American people is just not true. It's not reflected in the polls at any rate. Most people do recognize that he is out for himself. As a matter of fact, Navigator Research just dropped a new poll, just came out today, about how the Republican Party is perceived as more corrupt than the Democratic Party, which is true, and that Trump himself is seen as the most corrupt of all, which is also true. Here's another clip.
It's the exact opposite.
No, the funny thing is the reason why there's so much opposition to the bill is because it didn't go far enough. This is not about spending. I mean, you're saying this bill is awful because they're going to be cutting. We have to cut. We are heading toward a we're in a doom spiral.
But it balloons the deficit.
I'm saying that, but that's not why you're mad about it. You're mad that they might cut something, or they might cut taxes, and they might cut Medicaid. I'm saying is you should be mad that they're not cutting more. In terms of cutting Medicaid, let's be honest.
He's so dumb. He's just so stupid. No, okay. The fiscal conservatives have an issue because this thing is not fiscally responsible. It will spend more than it cuts, okay? So like you're cutting taxes but also not meaningfully reducing expenses. And when you are cutting the federal government spending, you're cutting it in the things that the people need most, like food assistance and Medicaid. If you're going to cut, you should probably cut from something like the defense budget, for example. And Trump recently boasted about how he'd never cut 10 cents from the defense budget, and his proposed defense budget is going to be greater. It's like $1 trillion budget. It's going to be greater than any that preceded it. So there's nothing inconsistent about what Jessica Tarlov is saying. She's pointing out that Republican senators have beef because it's not fiscally responsible. Liberals, progressives, the Democratic coalition is pissed not just because of that, but more importantly, the places that the Trump administration seeks to cut are things that like the people need, that working and poor families need. There's nothing mutually exclusive about that, and it's strange that he cannot grasp that. But I digress. Here's another clip.
Every few weeks,
let me just open it
to somebody new.
Let me open up to Jessica then. Like, do you think they have a messenger now that is effective?
Yeah, I do.
Who?
I think Bernie Sanders and AOC are very effective messengers.
So do we.
But they're
but that's not about who's going to lead the
contrast
ticket.
with what like a Rahm Emanuel is saying that
Totally,
the party
and
needs.
I enjoy listening to Rahm Emanuel and hearing from him, and I'm glad that he's all over the media circuit as well. But there is something compelling in the energy that AOC and Bernie are bringing. And you see that in the reaction of people going to these rallies who say, this isn't even my politics. You think that Iowa is full of, Idaho
so
is
they
full
like
of people.
the energy, but the
every few.
So I disagree with Jess about Rahm Emanuel. I think Rahm Emanuel's entertaining, to be sure. I think he's a smart guy, but I don't like his particular brand of politics, and I don't think it meets the moment. AOC and Bernie right now are the face. I mean, there's polling to back this up. AOC is the face of the Democratic Party. Now, might that change in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Sure. But right now, AOC and Bernie Sanders are the ones seen as the ones with the energy and bringing the fight against Donald Trump. So whether people like that or not. And I think it's good. And I think more Democrats need to start emulating that rhetoric and a lot of those policy prescriptions. And we'll see what happens. But here's another clip.
There is an important distinction to be drawn between being accessible and being good, or delivering truth, or actually saying what's going on in the world. And now I'm all fuddled up in my head. But
He told Bibi Netanyahu to
Bibi,
cut it out.
we don't call him Bibi.
I always get that name wrong.
Well, don't. He's important. Donald Trump does this thing. Not only, like today, he says, we got 5.1 trillion in the Middle East. It was 1.5 trillion like a week ago. But most importantly, he sits down for these interviews, and I think Biden should have been more accessible. Maybe we would have had a competitive primary if he had been more accessible. But he does these interviews, and then he says, I don't know, or I'm not sure. Like, Kristen Welker asked him, do you need to uphold the Constitution? I don't know. Ask a lawyer. Are you sending migrants to Libya? I don't know. Ask Homeland Security. You just announced a new nominee for Surgeon General who didn't graduate from med school. Why? Bobby likes her. I don't know her. You have the power to bring back Abrego Garcia. I don't make that decision. Lawyers do.
You were arguing on behalf of him right now.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that is what the criticism is of him. He may be in front of you, but that doesn't mean that he's not spewing utter BS.
But you know what?
And not answering the question, not this idea that, Trump is so transparent. Would anybody can stand in front of a camera and say, I don't know, 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 I don't know. Would we give this person credit? Like at a certain point, you need to provide substantive, honest answers. And Trump has always operated at a deficit in that respect. So this idea that, he's in front of a camera a lot, who gives a shit? Is what leaves his mouth is what's important. Is it true? Is it substantive? Or is it a non sequitur? Is it a deflection? Is it an insult? Is it like a total abrogation of response? I don't know. I have no idea. Bro, are you not a hands-on chief executive? Who's running the federal government if not Donald Trump? If you don't know, Is it because you're not cognitively up to the task of being president and other people? Shadow government is Stephen Miller really running the government while you just golf around? Are we in another? Is Jake Tapper about to write another book called like Unoriginal Sin or Original Sin Part 2 about how people are puppeteering the Trump administration? Like this idea that we would give this guy a passing grade because he's in front of a camera lot is just dumb. So kudos to Jessica there. One last clip.
But this actually wasn't Gavin Newsom. There was no capitulation. This was the California Interscholastic Federation, and this plan had already been developed before Trump's threat, and there's no way that this could have been put together in the 20 minutes. So I know it's a fun narrative to crap on Greasy Gavin, Newscum, whatever you want to say. You want to call him a she, whatever. That's not what's going on here at all. And it is relevant to say that there are only 10 of these students out of the 5.8 million K through 12 public school students in California, just like it was relevant when the head of the NCAA showed up to testify in Congress and said, we're talking about 10 athletes out of the 510,000. Now,
so this is in response to Donald Trump publicly threatening to withhold all federal funding from California because of a decision not made by Governor Gavin Newsom, but by a separate body pertaining to trans athletes. And again, this just, we try not to deal in like culture war stuff here on this channel. We try to deal with domestic politics. I just want to say, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's really gross that people are so hyper fixated on bullying a marginalized group, which also represents a statistical minority. I mean, trans people are more likely to suffer suicidal ideation and suicidal activities, and they represent a minority of a minority of a minority of a minority. And if your entire identity as a right-winger is about bullying them further, and all you are is just fixated, oh my God, this person's in the wrong locker room or what, like, this is just, it's such a non-issue in the way that you contextualize it, and really reflects that you just have a bully's heart. And it's really gross. And so kudos to Jessica and others for calling this shit out. I mean, to me, it's just like, it's like a more malicious version of like, my entire politics is because the green M&M is no longer wearing heels. The green M&M is wearing flats. And they're trying to take femininity away from the green M&M. And it's like Tucker Carlson used to bitch about the green M&M like a couple of years ago. And it just stuck with me because it's like, really? All the challenges facing not just liberal voters in this country, but conservative voters, red states as well. And you want to focus about the green app, like you, it's really dumb. It's indefensibly stupid. And because I'm not running for office, I can just be totally candid about it. And I mean this with all sincerity. I don't care who you are. If you're watching this right now and you are fixated, like you just, there may be double-digit trans people in this country, and they must be stopped. Like, you're a fucking loser. You just are. You're a bully and a loser. And there are bigger issues that are likely affecting you and your loved ones. And you constantly vote in contradiction of your own interests for this shit. And it's just, yeah, I'll get off my soapbox now. But kudos to Jessica for pointing this out, for fact checking that it's not Gavin Newsom's decision. It was a separate body. And number two, there's just really no need to bully this marginalized group that, again, represents a minority of a minority of a minority. Even if you have the most strictly, traditionally conservative views on this, it's indefensible. But that's MAGA for you. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.